name is Charles Eris, and I'm here today with Director Nawoton Moses, and we will want to talk about climate change. And all of us need to have a conversation and to do something about climate change. Even talking alone, talking to your relatives, talking to your friends, talking to colleagues, just talking about it is doing something about climate change. And I felt that it is very important that we meet, because you have an expertise in terms of climate change. You've done a lot of resilient projects. You've supported many partners. You've done a lot in Turkana County. And for people who have not been attending some of the forums where we talk about climate change, we talk about how things are changing, I felt that it is good that we have a discussion, one-on-one discussion, just an informative discussion, to ensure that we have information to people. We have everyone start talking about climate change. Welcome, Director, and probably you can introduce yourself, and we start. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. I am Moses Nawoton, as he has said, Moses Nawoton, Director for Disaster Risk Management, Turkana County. We have been working with concern of worldwide, and we have been working with many organizations, MASCOP, SAPCON, building capacities of our communities on climate change adaptations. So climate change is an issue. It is a very interesting discussion that we are picking at this time, and we would like it to be picked by everybody else. Thank you so much.
Yes, I think we have some of the concerns that people would want to know, and some of the things that I would like we have a discussion on. And one of the things is that we hear every time people are talking about climate change, and the word climate change is becoming a routine word for many people. What are some of the things that we can say in the context of Turkana that we can see, we can observe, just to realize or to acknowledge that there is climate change?
Okay, there are many issues and many extreme weather events that have taken place in Turkana that shows that there are indicators of climate change actually. One of these is rising temperatures. You see, rising temperatures in Turkana are becoming hard. You can experience heat waves. You can have, you can see temperatures ranging from 34, 30, 35, 37, 38. These extreme temperatures comparing to an average temperatures in Turkana before climate change setting. So it is an issue that we need to discuss, and you know, in our meteorological centers here in Lodwa and across the county, they are recording high temperatures. Mm-hmm. So this shows the climate change. There is also decrease in rainfall patterns. So where we have been receiving rainfall, we don't receive rainfall. So there is a bit of missing rainfall season for 4 or 5 seasons, and this brings drought, and drought has become persistent, has become frequent and severe. So anybody else can say there is something has changed, and that thing that is changing is climate change. Mm-hmm. So there is also shrinking water resources. The water resources in Turkana is becoming, of course, water is a valuable asset, a commodity, and if it's shrinking in terms of being dry, areas are becoming dry. Water sources are becoming dry. We have little water resources underground and even over the surface, mm-hmm, because of the rainfall pattern that has changed also. So the fourth thing that is changing is all vegetation and ecosystems. So because of rainfall patterns and of course the decrease in rainfall, there is changes. Vegetation is being affected. So we are losing many trees, many vegetation that has been defended by livestock. And this ecosystem around those forests and all that is being affected. So anybody else can see the changes of those things and can easily attribute it to climate change. So impact on agriculture and livelihood. We can see we are not producing more in agriculture because our agriculture systems is based on rain-fed agriculture. Mm-hmm. Even irrigation is depending on underground, and because it is also shrinking, so we don't get enough production from our agriculture, whether it may be agriculture irrigation systems or agriculture normal one, depending on the rain-fed agriculture. So, and our livelihood like livestock, agriculture, quite a number of these are depending on rain. And because of shrinking and the rain changes in patterns and prolonged drought, so our livelihood are at risk. And many of them we are losing livestock because of drought. We are losing land for agriculture. So there's quite a number of things we are losing. And the second thing that I want to talk about is scientific studies and data also. Some journals on about Turkana County. You can read studies that have been carried out. It's all showing that there are quite a number of things that are changing. And the data is there. You can look at it. Many things are changing in terms of how they have been and how they are now. And what is that affecting all this? It's the climate change. And that is the attribution to that. So maybe in simple language, we say it is critical to talk about in Turkana County about climate change and engage open discussion to raise awareness about climate change and see that everybody else, anything changing, you see it is climate change causing. And when we talk about adaptation to climate change, everybody should be able to respond and adapt to those climate change to be able to be alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Director, for that. It's quite informative, and I understand that people watching us, everyone who wants to understand what could be changing that is attributed to climate change, that is it. And we understand that climate change is having severe humanitarian consequences to sub-Saharan Africa, and World Bank is estimating that 143 million people in sub-Saharan Africa by 2050 will be displaced as a result of climate change. Do we see this happening in Turkana, and what are some of the things that we are doing to combat that?
Yes, this will also happen in Turkana. Climate change has a significant impact to pastoralist community, especially to Turkana. That is depending, it is arid and semi-arid land that has been already receiving very low rainfall. So climate change changing brings prolonged the seasons and seasons of dry season. So we see that what will happen is that because of drought and water scarcity, many people will be displaced, looking for these resources, looking for this water, wherever they see it. So they will move from traditional land or where being inhabited to where there is water available. They will look for pasture, and that will have been displaced them. You see our people living in Uganda. These are already displaced population, and they have remained there for years. They have been displaced because of climate change. They are looking for pasture. They are looking for, of course, rangeland resources, water, pasture, and all these other ones. So because they are in their traditional, you cannot be able to support that because of climate change. So they have moved elsewhere where it can be available. So those are the people who are already displaced. And because of water, because of those resources that we have talked, it's also because of pattern of rains that some areas, regions are receiving more rain and others are not receiving. So people likely to move to where they are receiving more rain. Because these are pastoralists and they depend on water, they depend on rain-fed systems. So they move looking for these resources, and where there is rainfall, there is plenty rainfall they have received. And for those purposes, they have been displaced from their traditional habitat and from their lands where they used to live. And then there is this increase on conflict also because of resources. Because of this conflict, more people, because they may be concentrated in certain places, so they increase looking for these resources. So there is impact in terms of conflicting in the struggle for these resources. So there is a conflict all over regions, like regions that are living in arid and semi-arid land. So there is conflict, and conflict is one of the critical development issue that threaten development.
Yes.
And displace more people. Where people have been affected by conflict, they tend to move away from conflict area to where it is peaceful. And what is causing this is climate change. It's climate change. We also look at the loss of livestock and livelihood. You see, you are living in an area where you have lost livestock and the livelihood you used to be. You tend to move somewhere else where you can save your or start the livelihood or save the little livelihood that is remaining. So you tend to move to those areas that you know it is safe. And by that you have been displaced. And you will remain there until maybe when the situation changes. You don't know when, because climate change is one thing. And these are the issues that environmental gradation, like Turkana County, is the pastoralist infested areas. And these are people have been having livestock and feeding all over. And you know the habit of cutting trees and livestock feeding, overgrazing, or deforestation. All these has caused climate change. And that now brings the issue of displacement. When you see you have destroyed certain regions, you tend to move elsewhere where we have resources, natural resources, where the cater and there is also weakened social systems and cultural systems that we have. Because of this climate change, many people have been strained in terms of resources. So the little you have, the cultural systems, the network that we have been using to help others is almost weakened. Because almost everybody is weak and everybody is poor. And you may not support your neighbor who is also poor like you. So you have no capacity to support. So maybe those are few ones.
Yes. You've mentioned that displacement is already happening. There was an hypothesis that climate change would bring displacement in future. So we now, according to your information, is that this is not only for the future; it is already happening.
It's already, we are already.
So we are already experiencing displacement. And how is it? How is this displacement addressed by the government?
We have been
because we have some people in Uganda, we have some people moved. What are some of the interventions that maybe the government or other humanitarian agencies are doing?
Yes, the government and UN and NGOs are doing quite a lot to address this displacement in form of climate change. So climate change, in fact, in the government initiative, we have NDMA. If you see NDMA, it is a drought management body that has been initiated by government. And you know, drought is an extreme weather event that is the past in arid and semi-arid lands. So that initiative of bringing NDMA by act of parliament in 2021, bring it into being, is to coordinate the interventions and all activities intervening climate drought, which is a climate change extreme event.
Yes, thank you so much. So there are new challenges, there are tensions, there are disasters. We hear that there is a disaster that was happening to Turkey. We understand that there are some disasters, floods, extreme nowadays in China, and it's like we are experiencing most of these things. And there is this could be fueled by the climate change and how things are changing. And we need to have a different programmatic approach. What are some of the things that we need to look differently or to do differently in Turkana so that we try to mitigate or at least to be prepared when this disaster strike?
The bad thing, and that is a very good question. That's why we are thinking so hard. The first thing we need to actually to implement the climate change adaptations. The climate, as soon as we agree that it is climate change all causing all this effort and all these problems that we have, and we discuss it widely and we agree, we need now to move to climate change adaptation plans and strategies. Of course, we need to move there, and this means that we have to have a proactive climate change adaptation strategy. It is proactive, and we need to work higher and even earlier to identify and to be able to discover earlier what will happen, so that we are able to prepare earlier. We don't wait to happen. And these are some of the plans that this climate change adaptation is very, very important at this time. And we need to work very, very hard to work on it. Secondly, we need to bring the concept of disaster risk reduction.
Yes.
The disaster risk reduction is a concept that is focusing on risk and seeing the disaster that will happen and the risk that comes with it. And we are now from there developing early warning systems. We are now to enhance community preparedness and resilience plans and establish effective emergency response mechanisms, integrating climate change consideration into disaster risk reduction.
Yes.
So all these should be plans that will work under disaster concept of disaster risk reduction. Because now there is no option that we are still in the school of disaster management when we have moved the school of disaster risk reduction.
Yes.
So this is a concept that now it will be now putting ahead and focusing on.
So we should put more effort to reduction.
And the risk, that is the risk is very important in that aspect. So the third thing is about sustainable resource management. The resources we have already, may it be natural or artificial or whatever the resources we have, we need to manage them well. We need to manage them well, as communities should be made aware to know a sustainable way of managing resources they have at their local level. May it be government resources, financial resources owned by government or owned by NGOs, by UN. It should be, the resources should be well managed. And the communities that are affected by climate change should be able to follow and transparently questioning how their resources is being used at that level. Because we don't want misuse of resources.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. And then the fourth thing is community engagement and empowerment. So we leave everything to the hands of the community. Let them participate. Let them make decisions. They have knowledge on this climate change issue. They have local knowledge on what to be done and what is happening. So we give them to give decisions and participate highly and actively on the plans that we want to bring out. Even if you say climate change plan,
yes,
let them bring their
input,
their decisions, to bring to those plans and enrich them to look like local plan. I think I have other four. Cross-sectional collaboration. Climate change issue is a complex issue. We don't need to work alone. We have to bring everybody. We have to bring government. We have to bring NGOs. We have to bring businesses. We have to bring all partners, experts, academia to this issue. And
everyone is supposed to be involved.
Is supposed to play a role. It is a cross-sectoral issue. Everybody should play a role. That is the way we will succeed. Otherwise, you have a role of academia, carrying research and bringing development data, bringing data analysis into the practice. We have businesses investing. We have government pulling policies. We have communities bringing their input in terms of their knowledge, local knowledge, bringing into climate change.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will
everyone to be involved.
Everybody, even in that community issue, all community members should be involved. They be men, women, children of all kinds should be involved. So climate finance and technology transfer. That is one of the issues that we have transferred. We have technology that have been developed in the past world that have used to solve some of the problems. So we need this technology to be transferred here and adopted here in the same way they have used it. We transfer this technology here and use this innovation to solve the climate change adaptation issues. And of course, the financing also issue. We need finance and these technological innovations. Bring them together and we solve some of the problems we have. I think I just mentioned a few.
That is good. Yeah. And what are some of the threats posed by drought in Turkana? And how can we build resilience? Threats that are posed by climate change in Turkana, and how can we build resilience into our communities or by ourselves at least for people to start adapting to these threats that are brought by climate change?
I know we have been, we're all been, experiencing the impact of
Climate change.
drought in
Drought.
Turkana. You know,
Drought.
Turkana is arid and semi-arid land. Of course, it has been chronically and cyclically being impacted by drought so much, and they have been appearing in all media, being the horribly affected by drought. And some of the issues that we are saying, I don't want to go back to the impact.
Yes.
Everybody
knows the impact. Yes.
We just want to know what can we do
Yes.
differently
Mm.
that can impact to compound this monster called drought.
Yes.
And this, the first thing is water management.
Mm-hmm.
It is water commodity that runs out of.
Mm-hmm.
We run out of water, and that is what we call drought
Yes.
by definition. So when now we need to bring strategies and technological strategies into management of water.
At least so that we build resilience within ourselves.
It is water that is a problem that brings drought. So the moment we know how to conserve water and conserve water for our own use, we know we are now experiencing water shortage even underground.
Yes.
Because we depend so much water on the ground. So we need to expand our thinking and bring water plants that are mega dams to keep water.
Yes.
Conserve water that they are now running as floods. Capture that water and keep water for ourselves. Use all strategies that the water experts know. May it be water practices, harvesting water, promoting rainwater harvesting in infrastructure, water infrastructure. Of course, we have also to save water infrastructure from climate change event. You know how to harvest water. You know how to keep water, to protect water sources from flooding, from all this. It is water management. That's the first thing. The second one is diversification of livelihood. We know ourselves, we depend on livestock as backbone economy of pastoralist community like Turkana. Now that climate change is setting in and it's affecting this economic backbone we are talking about, and it's depending on rain. And rain, we have been skipping rain season 4 or 5 of them, and we have been losing livestock. So the only way is to introduce other livelihood. That is the diversification of livelihood. Bring agriculture in, bring businesses, enterprises, bring knowledge in terms of its technical skills, education. Yeah, you have education and which like vocational education that brings the technical skills that people can be dependent. Entrepreneurship, bring it. Connected to microfinance and of course microcredit schemes to the entrepreneurs. Bring this and other livelihood diversification strategies and activities. Bring it in as one of the activities. The third activity is climate change agriculture. And when we say that, we are saying we are introducing techniques such as conservation of agriculture, precision of farming, and efficient in irrigation methods. And these other ones. So we have to bring climate change smart agriculture strategies and activities now that we want to diversify our livelihood. The fourth one is sustainable land management.
Yes.
Quite a number of our land is not properly managed. Even here in Lodwar, you can see the way the people are using land. They are using land wrongly and they are not properly planned how to use land. So it's about the planning how to use land and use land properly for our, now that climate change is setting in. So the fifth one is strengthening early warning systems.
Yes.
So that now we know how to strengthen the early warning systems and know what is coming ahead of us and how do we prepare. So these are systems that we require to make it very tough. And community engagement and capacity building. You know, it is a community that is being impacted.
Yes.
We can talk as a government, we can talk as NGOs, but we have to strengthen communities to build capacity on that community on how to prepare. Discuss plainly, as you have said, have dialogues that it is really climate change, and we need to have capacity on this issue of diversification of livelihood, conservation of environment, conservation of water, livestock degrading environment, and livestock also raising the grade of livestock that resist the drought. So collaboration and partnerships. We need to partnership with the businesses, with the organizations that want to invest in drought-related emergency. We need to do that. In fact, in areas like businesses and enterprises, we need to collaborate with the bigger enterprises like banks that we have here. We need to partner with them to invest in some of these activities. So as we become safe and resilient, the businesses also become resilient.
Yes.
So, and then now that we have enough sun energy,
yes,
and we have wind, and this is the energy that we need to access renewable energy and invest in this energy. So we don't need to have generators around here, which also
pollute the environment.
Yes. Of course, facilitating the climate change.
Yes, sure.
So we need to invest in smart energy, blue energy, like for example, wind and of course the solar radiations. We need to capture this and be used in rural areas. Use this to generate water. Like it's a solution to also to drought. This to live running with fuels that is also a problem with climate change. So we need to strengthen that, and we need also to strengthen the social safety nets that we are receiving, like social protections, like the cash transfers we are giving to communities, like the food relief food we are giving to communities at that short term period. We need to strengthen that. When they are short of the food, we are able to facilitate with social protection, cash transfers, relief food, and we save people at that time. When they move, we jump now to other livelihood options.
That will build resilience.
And then the last one is climate education and awareness, which we are just talking about.
Yes, everyone to have a conversation.
And have campaigns on it, and talk plainly and tell everybody what we are experiencing. It is because of this. We understand this man called climate change. It is bringing all this hell that we are facing. So let it be a campaign for everybody. Every meeting we have, every governor is talking climate change, and bring it, not talking alone, bring it into plans. Let all the plan be integrated with climate change.
Yes.
Bring climate change, addressing the climate change issue, and let us invest in climate change. I think that's
yes, thank you. We are taking actions currently on climate change. These actions only bringing positive impact to the future generation, or we are also going to benefit from it? And do you think, at your own perspective, that the actions we are taking will really forestall the changes in climate change, or you think they are too little, the actions we are taking today?
Of course, climate change, I think there are many questions in that question. There are sections of that question. The first thing is this climate change we are taking action for the future generation,
or for
it is
ourselves?
Both of us. Climate change has started attacking us. So it's a first thing to save us and save the future generation.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is what we have to do.
And the actions we are taking.
And the actions.
Do you think the actions we are taking currently, are they going to forestall the changes in climate change, or do you think the actions are little and probably late?
Yes. What we are seeing is that there is a slow adoption and focus on climate change. We talk so much, but issues like putting policies on climate change and investing in climate change adaptation strategies, and bring climate change like a focus and our target, and we don't really talk in terms of talking in meetings and all this, but we bring them in our policies, we bring them in our regulations, we bring them in our budgets, in annual plans. All this should be reflected.
Yes.
But this effort is very slow. We are doing something,
but
about it,
it's
but
slow.
The speed in which we are adopting it is very slow and low. So we need more generators to generate people to move faster.
Because the phases of drought, the phases of climate change are coming very fast, increasing. Yes.
The climate change, they are generating quite a number of extreme weather events, floods, drought, storms, heat waves. All this is associated with climate change, and we are slow in actions. May it government. I know we are many organizations. There are many governments that are taking some actions, but these actions compared with the speed with climate change is not commensurate.
It's slow.
Yeah, it's slow. So we need to at the county government level, at the NGOs level, at the UN level, we need more talks and not more talks alone.
More talks, more actions.
More actions, which invest more. The moment you start investing, you realize impact. But when you are talking and you are not investing, you talk and invest elsewhere. This is different outcomes.
Yes, sure.
You will bring different outcomes, and the problems you are facing will consistently be facing them. We will not solve them.
Can we say climate change affects everyone equally?
No, it cannot. Climate change affects people differently, and even affect the global world differently.
What about in the context of Turkana? Can we say climate change affects all of us Turkanas equally, or there are some groups affected differently?
The climate change affects all of us, but the degree at which we are affected is different. For example, regions are different. If you are living in certain geographical location, the climate change is impacting to you differently than another person living elsewhere. If I am living in Wasingichu and I am living in Turkana, the way climate change is impacting on both of us will be different. But there are factors that you see. That is one of them, the region where you live. The second one is the economic status. At what level are you? How much resources do you have economically? Those are the levels of vulnerabilities. The more the resources, the more you are resilient to climate change impact.
Because at least you can
you're able to absorb
some impact.
And you're able to adapt to some changes and move on. But a person who is already vulnerable, for example, groups like elderly, people with disabilities, people with maybe pregnant and lactating, people who are poor, already extremely poor, children who are actually their immunity is low. These are the people who will be impacted severely. And how much resources do you have to cope with climate change? That's another question. So if you have 74% of Turkana people are below poverty level, that is by the way, it is 74 point, it is 79.4%.
Yes, 79.4. Yes.
Of people
now those ones will be affected
below the
poverty line. Yes.
So if you are living, those one, all of them are impacted. Because they are already living on $1 per day. So if we are living $1 per day and the climate change is setting in like this, we are the most affected. I don't want to say victims.
Yes,
but I think the most affected. Most affected. Because of the socio-economic status. But inside them again, we have other groups like the elderly, people living with disability,
who are even affected more.
Extremely affected now. So we are all affected, but the level at which we are affected is different, depending on those factors.
Yes. We understand that Turkana is a pastoral economy. It's a pastoral community where a very big percentage of people have livestock, do livestock rearing. And we understand that when drought came recently, a very bad one, most people lost livestock. And we have had discussions that people should change livelihoods, people should shift from one livelihood to another. Can we really encourage people to shift from pastoralism to crop production? And can that be sustainable at this phase of climate change?
Yes, pastoralist and crop production. But before that, we must understand Turkana people are pastoralists.
Yes, they are pastoralists.
They depend on livestock.
On livestock, yes.
Culturally, they are attached to their livestock.
Yes.
And they couldn't depend on livestock. So, culturally, traditionally, they are attached to livestock.
To livestock, yes.
We should be very careful in approaching this issue of shifting
livelihoods from pastoralism to crop production.
We should be very, very careful because we may make an assumption that may not be working. Because things that are stretched on culture are not easy to change. We may bring the changes. The two sectors, crop production and livestock, are all depending on rain. And rain is already a problem. We are missing 4 rain season. Now we want to change from one to another, and all of them are affected by climate change at the same time. And one is rooted the culture, to the traditions, to the traditional values, systems. Another one is that a new animal in the house.
But at the face of climate change.
It's climate change. Now we want to say we shift completely to the another one and leave another one, or bring both of them. The question I just want to bring them that we need to be very careful in bringing these changes. We must understand the environment, that the context and which we are changing this, shifting this type of sector-specific activities. So we must be very careful. I'm not saying that we should not bring it, but bring it gradually, as we are also bringing capacity building, bringing capacity to the people, at least to adjust from traditional economic backbone, which is livestock, to now crop production. Because now something I say something that is in culture. If you want to change it, it will affect the social structure of that community.
Yes.
And it will also affect the knowledge systems, and also affect the traditional values. So because it can bring disasters also. If you bring it rapidly, instead of you thinking positively, it will bring a change that you not intend to do. So bring it, but slowly building capacity with this type of knowledge, building knowledge, bringing knowledge to the people that we want to change, and bring this activity of crop production gradually, as also continue keeping livestock.
Yes. So can
also bringing livestock, improve the livestock also grade. Bring the grade of livestock. Bring livestock that resist drought. Bring crops that resist drought. So because all of them are affected, you cannot bring a traditional crop production.
Yes.
Because now we are in the era of climate change.
Now, can this explain the reason why most of the agri-nutrition farms, most of the farms that have been introduced by many partners, even the government, are failing?
Sure. And this is what we are just explaining. Because we are leaving behind some of the issues, critical issues, and rooted to the culture that we need to bring slowly. As we are saying, climate change, it's climate change, so that people understand and are starting accepting that climate change is here with us. And we need to remain alive in the face of climate change.
Yes, sure.
And to remain alive, we need to leave some of our values or modify some of them. Our structure of social systems, modify some of them, and do away with some of them that are not working now.
Yes.
So that we are accepting other activities for diversification of livelihood, including the crop production. It's not only crop production, but quite a number of diversified activities. Bring in a way that we are building more capacity to change the mindset of the people who have been rooted the culture of livestock.
Yes, for a very long time.
Yeah.
And finally, is what needs to be done to combat climate change all comes down to political will. That we need to have political will to do most of the things to combat climate change.
Sure. Okay. Political will is one of the critical issues. Critical will, of course, comes with leadership. it is leadership. Critical will comes with leadership that provides resources to climate change, investing to climate change activities.
Yes.
So it's not only political will. We have issues like policy frameworks.
Yes.
That they are very important in guiding. You don't say we are shifting from crop production when we have no policy.
Yes.
To guide us on how to go, where we want to go.
On how to
we need to
shift.
have frameworks, policy and legal frameworks that are guiding us to take us where we want to go. The second one is technological innovations. We need to have technology. Now this time, we need not to approach things manually. We need to employ technology to take us where we want to go. In addition to political
will.
Because without technological
technology, even if you have the will,
and you have no policy, it is nothing. You also need to bring the issue institutional cooperation. We have too many organizations, all the institutions that are funding issues that have technological innovations. We have organizations that have funds, they are investing here. So institutional cooperation, collaboration, you need to have them. So there is a political will works where in this situation where we have a political institutional cooperation. We need also to bring our public awareness and education. It will not miss. You may be talking about the political will and leadership, technological, but the people who are affected by climate change, the people who bear the last impact of climate change are not aware. They are not aware, they have not given any input. So we bring in public awareness and engagement and education to the people being affected by climate change. And they become part and parcel of their adaptation plans. And their input are in those plans. Of course, the last one that I want to say are two is business and financial sector engagement. Because that is where we have resources. In fact, the businesses, we have innovations and they have also funds. So we need to bring that business and financial sector engagement into the issue of climate change so that it is supporting even the political will. The political will is just creating an environment for all these factors to work. But they will not work alone without this other one. And the last one is adaptation and resilience. And we need to talk about it. That we need to adapt for us to remain resilient.
Yes.
And we have to talk that discussion and invest more in that discussion. So I think those are the few things apart from the political will.
Yes,
so the political will not critically work alone, but the actors.
Yes, the other actors. We understand that there are many meetings where governments, the European government, the African governments are meeting to ensure that they have waged a way forward to ensure that we do things that will combat climate change. And probably for the first world countries, this will should really come out very clearly, so that these other African countries can accommodate maybe their views, can accommodate the change and all that. And we really appreciate, and I appreciate as Charles and the one who has made sure that we bring this program to the people, to ensure that people listen, people have some choices, people are committed to climate change. And probably before we part ways to another day, what could be your concluding remarks for this interview?
Now, I really want to thank whoever initiated these talks. And I know these are the talks that needed to be taken to higher level. It started small, but finally it will go higher and bigger. As I said earlier, even in those international discussions,
yes,
things are talked at those discussions and decided, but the way it is cascaded down to communities, local level interventions, they slow down and go faint. And yet, these are the hand where it is feeling it, the brutal impact of climate change.
Yes.
So we require to bring this discussion down and require government and NGOs to be realistic in what we are doing and impact the communities. Bring the NGOs in, bring in the CPOs, the civil society organizations, bring religion organizations in. Let us discuss at a bigger forum. Accept like this county. this county, you are saying climate change is a multifaceted issue.
Yes.
It's not just a single person issue and a single solution. It is a solution, it's a multi-sector, multidisciplinary. So it's so much to do about it. So we need to handle it, and with everybody else who is concerned with the human being, and who is concerned with beating adaptation to climate change, the people we have around, environment, resources, and everybody else. So we need actually to bring this discussion from the higher to the lower level, and take them from those levels to our plans, and make sure that we invest. The moment we start investing,
we put resources.
Is the moment we feel the outcome. The outcome now start mitigating the impact of climate change.
Yeah, that is Mr. Moses Nawoton. Is one person who has really put a lot of effort to ensure that there are impacts on actions we do on climate change. And he has really been so impactful today. He has really talked a lot. And we have many more meetings that we are planning to have together to ensure that we have a discussion. We ensure that all issues of climate change are brought to discussions and everyone is taking part on it. And we will really request that you like our YouTube channel, you share, you subscribe, so that and also don't forget to comment, because we need the director to follow up and see some of the things that he can respond to. Thank you so much for keeping in touch with us up to this time. Thank you so much.